Well, hello there, and welcome back to another episode of Mr. Johnson's Math Class. I'm your host, Mr. Johnson, and today we are discussing rational and irrational numbers. So let's get started. When you think of numbers, it's pretty easy to visualize the number line. The number line is a great place to start when considering the different classifications of numbers. Just like animals have different classifications and species, numbers can be separated into different categories. Consider the game hide and seek. When you play hide and seek, you close your eyes and count to 10. When you begin counting, you naturally start at 1. Since you naturally begin starting at 1, it makes sense that the natural numbers also start at 1. And they count from there, just like in hide and seek when you count 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. The natural numbers start at 1 and include the rest of those. After including 1, what about all these other numbers over here? We still have to consider those, and those also have a special classification. Just like natural numbers have a classification, so do the rest of these. Let's consider 0 first. 0 kind of looks like a hole to me, so if you dug a hole in the ground, it would kind of look like that. So that's why I think of whole numbers as including the 0. Whole numbers include the 0. Natural numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so on and so forth. Whole numbers start at 0 and count up. They include the whole. But we still haven't accounted for the rest of these numbers. What about all these negatives over here? They also have a special name. These negative numbers are useful for lots of things. Keeping your golf score, reading temperatures, changes in elevations, my checking account. You get the idea. Negatives are in the integer family. Integers include all the negatives, 0, and all the positives. So natural numbers are 1 through 10, or 1, 2, 3, 4, all the positives. Whole numbers start at 0 and go up. And then integers include your negatives. So in review, you have natural numbers, one, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. You have whole numbers, which include 0 and the natural numbers, so it's 0 and all your positives. And then you have integers, which are all of your negatives, 0, and your positives. So now let's consider a rational number, and this is kind of important. So when we think of rational numbers, a rational number is anything that can be written as a fraction. So a rational number is anything written as a fraction. So negative 5.3 repeating, that can be written as a fraction. 4/3, 9 2/5, 12.121212. So a rational number is anything that can be written as a fraction. So since this has a pattern, we can write it as a fraction. Square root of 16. The square root of any perfect square is a rational number. So if there are rational numbers, then that must mean there are also irrational numbers. An irrational number is any number, so any number that never repeats and it never terminates can't be expressed as a fraction, so therefore it's irrational. So pi is probably the most famous irrational number, and it goes forever and ever. When you think of pi, you probably think 3.14, but it goes and goes and goes and goes and goes, and it never stops. 1.12112111121112, so on and so forth. This, although it has a pattern, the pattern never repeats and it never terminates, so it can't be written as a fraction, so that's irrational. The square root of a non-perfect square is irrational. So if you had the square root of 5, that's irrational. Square root of 15 is irrational. So all of these fall under the category or the umbrella of real numbers. So rational, integers, whole numbers, natural numbers, irrational numbers, those are all real numbers. Thanks for tuning in. This has been another episode of Mr. Johnson's Math Class. See you soon.